everyone. Happy Monday. We are so happy that you are all here at the Soprema Senior Center today for our Muffins with the Mayor program. I wanted to give a big thank you to the Soprema Cafe for the delicious muffins. And then a big shout out to the Wadsworth Older Adults Foundation because they are sponsoring the muffins, and they're our 501c3, and we are so thankful for all that they do. But I have the great privilege this morning to introduce Mayor Laubaugh. She is such an advocate of everything we do here at the Soprema Senior Center, from programming to our events to our walking challenge. She is there for us. We're so thankful for her and all that she does, not only for seniors in the community, but the entire Wadsworth community. And there's so many exciting things going on. We're so excited to hear more about Wadsworth, and welcome Mayor Laubaugh. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you. I just wanted to check, how's the volume? Good? All righty, and I'm not blasting too far, okay. Oh, well, thank you, and it's so wonderful to be here, and Lori gave so many kind words, and I'm sitting here thinking, she doesn't realize it's because I like to come, and it's fun for me. I love it. That's why I'm an advocate, because I really do enjoy being here, and I get to see so many of my friends, and I just have such a passion for the Senior Center. I just am very committed and recognize the importance of this center and realize the wonderful quality of life that it brings to so many of us. And I'm just glad to be part of it. So anyways, it's a treat for me to be here. And it's also a treat for me to be able to spend a little bit of time to get you a little bit updated as far as some of the things that are going on in the city. We have so many wonderful positive initiatives going on in the city. And it's hard to communicate all that, and so I'm grateful to have this opportunity to be able to tell you a little bit, but also be able to answer any questions you might have. One of the reasons why people say, gosh, you go to everything, and some of the reasons why I go to so many things is I have conversations with people while I'm there, and I'm able to answer questions, because I want you to be able to be aware of what's going on in your community, and also, where your tax dollars are going, where your rate dollars are going, and be able to ask whatever questions you might have. So I just wanted to give just like a basic overview to tell you that the community is very healthy. I've been fortunate throughout my tenure, really, that we've been very healthy. But I will say my early years, like I started in 2008, which was just at the beginning of the recession, and then 2010. And those were some lean years during those times. We were still, I would consider us very healthy, but we really, really had to tighten our belt. And I was grateful that we were able to do what we did without having to reduce level of services. But I will say that over the past, let's say 5-7 years, we've had a little bit of a different season, and that's a season of more growth as far as the financial area is concerned. Our community has grown very moderately or consistently. Like if you look over the last 10 years, we've been growing at about 1.25% on average each year, which is a very moderate, rate of growth. And I like it that way. It's not so fast that it's hard to keep up with the services, but it's not stagnant, because you need to have a certain amount of growth in a community to be able to keep it vital, to have that vitality, but also to be able to keep, for example, your income tax rates at the same, as well as to keep your rates for your utilities low. We've been fortunate in the city of Wadsworth. We've had the same income tax rate since 1982, with the exception, the community passed that 0.1% income tax that was specifically for our streets, for our maintenance of our streets. That was the one area that I will say, when I first started in my tenure as mayor, that I just thought, gosh, we need to do something about our streets. And we were very fortunate, because our actually was Susan Hanlon on city council that was excuse me, very supportive of that initiative to pass and to bring that to the community of that 0.1%. But anyways, being able to be fiscally responsible, being able to have that little bit of growth that allows us to have our rates and our income tax in a very moderate way. And I'm proud of that because we are actually quite low compared to other communities, so that's a neat thing for us. So we're very good, healthy as far as our growth is concerned. We're very healthy as far as our financial is concerned. We've enjoyed, really, over the last several years, some very nice income tax increases just because our businesses are doing well, they're hiring, and we got through COVID just fine. We did just fine. In addition, and I'm going to be talking about some of the initiatives that we're doing right now, because we've had periods of growth, we've been saving. So we've been saving, so we have some money. We've also been enjoying that income tax increase. Plus, we've been able to benefit from grants, but also since COVID, the federal government provided some dollars as well. So we put all that together to provide some funding for some initiatives I'm going to be talking about. So overall, the city is in very good shape, and I'm very, very happy about that. So what are some of those projects or things that we've got going on? You might have been driving around, particularly if you've gone past Durling Park area or Memorial. They look like a war zone right now, but pretty soon they're going to look really good. We have a lot of park projects. That's been on our to-do list for a long time. It takes money to do some of those projects, and it takes a lot of concerted effort and time and effort, and that's what we've been putting in is putting in that. We recognize the importance of parks in our community. It's a big draw for individuals to live in a community where there's parks. It's a great quality of life initiative for those that live here. And I don't know if you've kind of felt it, but I have felt it over the last many years, is that the importance of parks, the importance of trails, being able to walk outdoors, being able to enjoy the outdoors, that seems to be a very, very important aspect for so many of us. And so because of that initiative, we wanted to make sure that we keep pace of that. And so a lot of our parks are in the need of having a refresh, and we're starting that effort right now. So if you were to go over to Durling Park, well, let me start with Memorial Park. If you were to go to Memorial Park, as I said, it kind of looks a little bit like a war zone, but it's really coming along. Raise of hands, how many of you, did any of you volunteer to work on Kaleidoscope Playground a long time ago? Yeah, a few of your hands. I did a lot. So Kaleidoscope Playground has been taken down because it was 29 years old. It was a wood structure, and it served us well. It had a life expectancy of 15 to 20 years. Well, we got it to 29 years. But it was time for it to be taken down. And we are in the process right now of replacing it with a brand new, beautiful playground. So right now, about 95% of the equipment for this new playground has been installed. And over the next couple, 3 weeks, they'll be starting the process of doing the finishing touches so that they'll be able to put what's called poured in place, where there'll be like a surface where it's poured in place. Some of it's turf, some of it is grass, some of it's mulch. But it'll be a beautiful, beautiful brand new playground. In addition to that playground, we're going to have a new bathroom, we'll have new pavilions, and then later this fall, will be built a splash pad that will go close to that playground. And then, of course, we'll have to be reworking our the parking lots. So a lot of activity on that area that used to be Kaleidoscope Playground. A lot of that's going on right there. So you might have some grandkiddos that are going to be enjoying that, but it will certainly be a draw for all of our residents here, and certainly we'll be bringing others as well. In addition to that area, you might have remembered there was 2 tennis courts that have been there forever. Those tennis courts have been taken up, and now we'll have 2 brand new tennis courts in addition to 2 new brand new pickleball courts. And I'm assuming some of you might be playing pickleball a little bit. And so that's another really desired amenity that has been asked for. Excuse me. Durling Park is equally getting worked on right now, where they used to have the old tennis courts. They have been taken up, and they will be replaced with 2 brand new tennis courts, in addition 4 new pickleball courts, and then a half basketball court. So that area, which used to be all the tennis court areas, that's in basketball, that's all being redone. And if you look over there, the asphalt's been down, it's cured, and they are getting to the point where they'll be putting the finishing touches as far as putting the top coat on and that sort of thing. Brand new steps have been put in to be able to access that area, and that will be a really nice thing. We're hopeful that between the courts in, at Memorial Park, but also the ones in Durling, will be substantially completed by the end of summer. So say around September is hopefully they'll be in good shape and ready to be used. So that's what's going on in those two parks. We also have a neat park that's going on that will be downtown, and I can see all of you being able to enjoy that and really be excited about this. So the city has owned an empty lot that is, let's see here, it's on Main Street. If it's by that hairdresser and then the Pleto Consulting, I don't know if you know where that empty lot is, and it just kind of slopes down a little bit. We purchased that many years ago, recognizing it was a downtown, asset. And we wanted to make sure that that developed in a way that would be appropriate for the community. But anyways, we kind of had a thought that we might make it a pocket park, and which is what we're doing right now. We were fortunate to be able to receive grant funding through the state to pay for the lion's share for this. But basically, it's going to be just, as I said, a little pocket park that will be able to enjoy some outdoor community events. It might be a little band, or it might be other types of things that will be able to play there. But basically, at the top part, there'll be areas where there's tables and chairs, so that, if you want to take your lunch and be able to go outside and just enjoy being outside, you'll be able to do that in those tables and chairs. Then as it goes down a little bit, there'll be an area where there'll be two big old fire pits with chairs around that, and so you can enjoy being outside in the evening and enjoy being downtown. And then there's an area which is actually grass, but we're putting in turf, so that will be a little bit easier to maintain. It'll look real pretty all throughout the year. But an area that people can be able to put down their lawn chairs or be able to put down blankets to be able to view, which is down at the bottom, the concert that would be being provided there. So anyways, it's going to be a really neat spot. That is going to be constructed fairly soon. We are getting the bids. Hopefully we get some good bids in this week. And if we do, they'll be constructing in the next few weeks, and it won't take too long. So I'm hopeful that maybe by November, first part of November. So this will be utilized for next year. But it's going to be a neat thing to enjoy. Let me see here on my list here. And one other, I've talked about this briefly with you before, but one other park aspect is the city purchased 204 acres of land directly behind where St. Edward's is. I don't know if you know where that is, but it's basically south of town by Seville Road, and it's Main Street, or 94 in that area. But it's behind St. Edward's, and it's a beautiful piece of property. And pretty much the southern part of that is going to be designated towards, I would call it, passive recreation. So we envision, walking trails, running trails, maybe somebody could do, bike trail, but passive recreation, being able to just enjoy nature in that area. And as I said, it's a very pretty piece of property, and there is actually 3 lakes that are on this property. One's pretty good size, the other 2 are smaller. But and we're envisioning that we'll be able to use that for fishing as well. So that's that southern part, and then the northern part will be used for recreation. We have a need for ball fields, and particularly ball fields that are kind of in one area. We've got lots of ball fields, but they're all spread out throughout the community. And so we're trying to get those so that that they would be, we need more ball fields, and then it's a lot easier for a family that instead of having to go to all these different ball fields to be able to do it one place. And so that's one area, but there'll be other amenities there as well. But we have a process to go through, and there's and also a process through council, because we have to just determine how much we're going to do and how fast. But bottom line is we're putting in the budget now to at least do some design work and potentially some construction to begin some of the construction of that next year. So lots happening in that area. So that's parks. Whew. But that's really what is the visible part. You know, I could come up here and talk about all the water lines, the sewer lines that we're going to be putting in, but I don't think you'd be looking at me too. You'd be like sleeping by then because we're doing a lot of those too. One other neat project that is going on that I'm really excited about is called Fiber to the Home. Has anybody heard that project or know what that is? Yeah, okay. We've had the benefit of having our own CityLink service where we provide direct access to you, high-speed internet access. And we are continually improving our system over the years. And if you ever look on social media, they always rave about how amazing CityLink is because they really are very responsive and they have a really great quality of a product. We continually want to invest in that product and make sure that that's a great product that will be for years and years to come. And so there's a process or a product called Fiber to the Home, which will allow us to provide even higher speeds and higher reliability, and not only for our residents, but also for our businesses. And so we're starting that process. So you might have, the reason why I'm bringing this up is you might have seen some of the trucks that are around. The city has contracted the part of this, and so you might see some of these trucks that say contracted by the City of Wadsworth, but they started their initial work, well, they've been all over, but a good portion of their work was done. Hello? Oh yeah, it's still there. A good portion of their work has been in the area that, as I will say, is north of College and west of High Street. That area has been getting a lot of activity. They've also been starting some activity over in the 261, I'm going to say in the area, the Highland area, Woodland, that area. So that's been all above ground. Now, underground is about ready to start in some areas, and so like the Weatherstone area, they'll be doing some underground. So there's different processes, and there's a method to their madness as far as where they go at what time. But bottom line, it's a 3-year project, and after 3 years, everybody's going to have it. So it's going to be a neat project. Let's see here. Let me see if I have other projects I want to mention here. We have, and I know that I've talked about this before, is our downtown and the need to improve some of the infrastructure, all the infrastructure in our downtown. You know, we've been very active in getting those water lines and sewer lines throughout the community, and we still have a long way to go. But the area that really is in need, because it's the oldest, is our downtown. We have some aging infrastructure in our downtown, and nobody wants to do that because you're digging up roads and sidewalks and things, and it really makes a mess, and it's inconvenient, and there's a large effect on businesses and in the way we travel and things. But at the same time, we recognize that we can't put our head in the sand and not attend to it, because eventually you're going to have the big old water break or a big old something, and it's going to catch you off guard, and you're not going to have the equipment or the materials to be able to attend to it. So we need to make sure that we do it. So we're all geared up to do some things prior to COVID, and then COVID hit, and then that went by the wayside. But once again, we're re-gearing back up to do that. But there is a process that we need to go through to be able to get that started, and it's through council, because obviously they're funding. They would have to agree to funding it. And we have to figure out, you know, what is it going to look like on top. And there's been some different designs that have been out there, but I want to revisit that process because we have new business owners, new building owners, new council members, new whoever. And I tell them, I said, I don't care at the end of the day what the ending product is. I just want to get it done because we need to improve our infrastructure. But at the end of the day, it will be a beautiful improvement because the streets will be new, and then our sidewalks will be new, and we'll be able to start afresh. I've been gabbing really fast here. The only other thing I was thinking about is to mention, because some of you I know are big walkers, and some of you are big walkers on that interurban trail downtown, or from downtown to Silver Creek. Raise your hands. How many of you know where that is? Okay. So do you know where that stretch of the trail, when you just get out of Miller Park So you're on Chestnut. So you're on Chestnut and you go all the way up that street, and then you connect over there to behind Luke Engineering. I'm not sure, is that Ohio? Anyways, there's a stretch that's on Chestnut, and you're going up a hill. And we've always been like, that's just not the best situation because you're going on road. So this year, very soon, we're going to have that redone, and so that it will be off-road, so that we'll actually continue on with the trail. I'm very happy about that because it'll be much safer and it'll be a much more enjoyable walk. And so I just wanted you to know that that is coming. That is, it's out to bid right now, and so we're hoping to get, once again, hoping that will be a great, or actually that has been bid, but we don't have a schedule yet for when the contractor is going to do it, but it will be coming soon. All righty. So what questions do you have about what's going on in the city of Wadsworth? Yes?
And we'll bring a microphone to you so everybody can hear the question. Hang on.
Well, hello.
Yep,
Can you hear me?
raise your mouth.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So first off, I want to compliment the city or whoever is plowing the Wadsworth Trail. Okay, they do a great job in the wintertime. It makes it possible to walk it year-round. My question is about entertainment venues. You mentioned there's a new park.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not exactly sure where it is. Okay, you said on Main Street. Could you clarify for me exactly where on Main Street that is? Because one of the issues, my wife and I attend concerts every week someplace, and it's usually in Akron or someplace else. And each time we go, we eat wherever we go. We take our money with us and go. And Wadsworth has been having concerts, some wonderful concerts, and have an excellent one coming up on August 16th, probably the best Journey tribute I've ever seen. But I talked to people about, are you going to come to Wadsworth? And they said, we can't because there's no place to park. So that's something I'd like you to consider when you're thinking about this location. Secondly, I know you've got the Brickyard, which is a beautiful land out there. All of us that grew up here used to play out there, Have you thought about an entertainment venue out there? I know it takes business from away from town, okay, and I know it's been the businesses downtown that have been funding this, but if you look at Norton and the Columbia Woods, and what a beautiful venue, and the Escape just played there 2 weeks ago. They had probably 1,000+ people there.
Wow.
It was a great turnout, and they had trucks and some local business. Now, unlike Wadsworth, Norton doesn't really have a downtown, so you don't have a place to draw, but the downtown vendors could set up trucks or booths to let people know about their business, and either before or after the concert, they could eat or come downtown, spend their money down here. Please think about it when you're thinking about the Brickyard and what you're doing out there, because you can create parking out there. And that's our biggest challenge here in Wadsworth, is people stay away because they can't park, or if you have any kind of infirmary, there's no place to be close. You have to walk. So please consider that when you're thinking about the Brickyard, all right?
All right. I will chat just a little bit about that, because you actually do bring up some very good points. One of our issues is we don't really have this is the place you always have an event, because we don't have, and I would say parking isn't as much of an issue as it is just location. And okay, every time I go to Medina, I'm like, okay, I have that square envy. I just see this beautiful, green space that they're able to gather every time downtown. Now, they have other issues with their traffic and parking, that sort of thing, but they just have that beautiful green space. And so to be able to gather to. But we're gathering on parking lots and that sort of thing. I think this little pocket park is an effort for us to be able to do that. Now, it will not accommodate the thousands of people that could be potentially for certain events, but it will be a nice, I won't say a quieter, a smaller gathering space for some of our events. But we've been very fortunate that we've been able to, let's say, we'll shut down a street or we'll shut down a parking lot. But there's a lot of, I won't say inconveniences with that, but we've got to notify all the businesses. We've got to notify, because we have residents that live down there, clear out your cars so that we can have this event down here. So we do have some issues. Interestingly, not in the Brickyard, but in Memorial Park, we have a tentative idea as far as a venue, and that is in where the lake is. There was an area that basically it's like you bump it out and you're on the lake, but it could be used as not only a venue for like a music performer to be on, but also for fishing. And so like a fishing platform, but also a platform for music. And so we've actually, that was in the master plan that was just put in last year. Now, and so we'll continue to look at that idea as an idea to be able to benefit, but I will say there's not the best of parking all around there, because it's still in Memorial Park, but there is parking. I mean, they accommodate thousands of people for football games, and so but you bring up some good ideas, and I will certainly bring those back to others. I think the point is we are getting the idea that Wadsworth likes to gather. They like to gather for events, and they're excited about being together. And music has been something that has been brought back this past year, because for many years we used to have downtown Wadsworth would provide concerts basically downtown. We did that for years. And attendance was spotty over time, and so then they'd stop doing that. Well, this is the first attempt to bring that back in this past year, and I think we've had some success with that. So once again, the city provided some funding to get that started, but then a nonprofit then continues on with doing the arrangements and doing all the logistics. So, but great comments. All right, some back here.
We live down here behind the blue sky, and we haven't lived here that long, so I don't know what all the plans are, but was curious what the plan is for the traffic flow once the school gets moved here and we have everybody all at once and we're kind of locked in.
You bet. So the school, obviously that's being constructed as CIS, that right now is housed right downtown. And that already had some traffic issues even downtown, because I don't know. I don't think it was. We don't have the lanes that would accommodate in the turn lanes. I think people used to walk to school before, and now they drive to school. I think that's kind of the issue. But anyways, recognizing that CIS is being built right on Broad Street there on the high school campus. The one thing that is many are not aware is that because CIS is the 5th and 6th grade building, they are on a different schedule than the high school and the junior high. And so instead of, I think the high school starts at around 7:30 a.m., the CIS starts at 9 a.m., or give or take, it's around that time, but it starts at 9 a.m. And so it's a whole different time frame than I would say the most demanding time, which is during that high school, junior high start time. So that when it came to Planning Commission, I know that the designers and the engineers, they provided a traffic study which showed that should be, there wasn't cause for concern due to that changing of the schedule. I'll say the other thing that's going on, and I'm probably speaking, I'm just going to say very generally because I don't have detailed information on this, but I do know that the schools, their intention is over at Overlook to be able to align their drive out with that light, and so I think that will also be very helpful.
Late start days will coincide then with their, sorry, I have a loud voice anyway, but late start days, it'll be congested because it's 9:30 and then 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
That's when I come up here. That's when
Gotcha. Well, I would, suggest that the schools, they are very well aware that it's not the most pleasant if there's traffic jams and they get complaints and that sort of thing, and we'll be observing as well. And so, they have the ability, I would say, is if that late start time is very disruptive, that they might be able to make adjustments. I mean, I would assume. So I'm going to guess that's going to be one of those, they're going to see how things go, but if there's a bottleneck that occurs, that they have the ability to make some changes. Mm-hmm.
On the downtown, are they planning on taking out that park and put it aside like they have shown pictures, or are they going to leave that park?
That is the question of the day, and I can't answer you because I don't know. And the reason I don't know is it was decided, let's say before COVID, that basically, do you know where the gazebo is and there's where the boy with the boot? When we had several architectural firms come in and basically give their, they were trying to become the ones that did the designing for us. But they would all just kind of gave some ideas as far as what they would thought about our downtown. Every single one of them said, why do you have that strip in there? Because then your alignment of your roads, you makes your light longer and it makes traffic kind of, why do you do that? And of course it was because that's how the community had evolved over time. In fact, if you look at old plans, there used to be like a median and cars would park, and so things have changed over the years. But anyways, our community is the way that it is and we all love it. But that was a question. And so one of the designs that was presented by the firm that did the work for us is basically taking the gazebo and moving that gazebo, basically, I think it was like 80 feet south, so that instead of having a median, basically moving that south, and that median space then becomes like a larger front area in front of those businesses. And the benefit is that it makes it like this, so that the traffic goes very smoothly. So that was a benefit. The other benefit is it provided some green space. Remember how we were saying that how we have a lot of asphalt, we have a lot of concrete, but we don't have much green space. And so what it would do is provide an opportunity that you have a lot of area, that 80 extra feet or whatever it was, that would be green space, that you could host an event, And at the time, this was, as I said, right before COVID, we had done we went to the businesses, we went to the building owners, we went to Main Street Wadsworth, and we went to the community at large. We had these focus groups and got their input. And then we went to the community at large and we said, these are 3 different designs. Out of this 3, what would you prefer as far as our downtown? Because we can either keep it exactly the same with a few bump outs to make some safety issues, but bottom line is it looked pretty much the same, or we could adjust that a little bit more. And then the third one is move this green space. And the green space one was the one that actually received the greatest interest. They said, yeah, that makes sense. And so that was actually the plan that we had planned to do. So, but bottom line is COVID hit, and so we came back. Well, now we're to the point where what do we do now? And, I've seen on social media, change is hard. And so people are like, do we really want to move the gazebo? Do we really want to do something like that? And then others say, yeah, it would be great. This is a good thing to do. We have a lot of new business owners, a lot of new building owners. We have a whole different Main Street. We have a whole different council. So we have a lot of different people since that COVID time. And I'm hesitant to do something like, hey, we're just going to do what we had said before without getting that feedback, because it's a major disruption downtown. And I want people to say, yeah, we all agreed on that. That's a good thing to do. We're not going to get everybody to agree 100%, but I would like to have a good portion of the people agreeing that, hey, this is the way to go. And so we're going to go through a process of some sort to be able to come to some sort of conclusion. Because as I said, we've got 7 council members plus the council president need to be convicted that confirm that, hey, this is the time to do this again. We're going to have, and they have to agree that, hey, we're going to fund it at this time. And we want the community to be supportive of it, because this is your town. This is not my town. I mean, I live here. I'm one voice, but I'm not a voice, for everybody. So we need to go through a process. So my answer is, I don't know. I don't know. But I will tell you, whatever it is done, it will be beautiful. It will be, because we need to, our sidewalks are looking a little crumbly. Definitely, oh heavens, College Street's getting a little bit bumpy. But the last thing we want to do is repave it and then 2 years later dig it up. We don't want to do that. And so we've been nursing it along until we can get back to this project. So that's my answer. I don't have an answer. Uh-huh. Oh, I'm sorry. Bruce was standing and I didn't see him.
Bring the microphone to you.
Robin, speaking of downtown, collaboration is certainly used a great deal with schools and city working together. What has your communication been with the schools in regards to CIS? That building has been around for several years. Right there to Jean Brown, she's a fine math teacher there. We've worked, and I was there 12 years. It means a lot to a lot of people in
I
town.
went to grade school there. I was there from 3rd grade through 11th, so I've been in that building a long time.
Yeah, it'd be a shame that we can always use auditoriums. Auditoriums are worth their weight in gold. We put new seats in that facility, and the gym as well.
Yeah.
A lot of CityLink teams are there and advancing, and the Grizzlies are always good in both girls and boys basketball.
You bet, and that's a great question, and thanks for even bringing that up, because it's going to be, in our minds, because if you look at the CIS building, it's coming along. And I actually reached out to Superintendent Hill just this past week to see if they're still on schedule and to see if their plan is still to basically be able to have the students in by the fall of next year, fall of 25, and he said yes. So in one more year from now, that CIS will start to be becoming vacated. They'll be moving stuff out and they'll be getting things back into the new school. So what do they do with CIS? Well, first of all, people always look at me and they say, well, what are you going to do with it? Well, it's not a city, it's a school asset. And so at the end of the day, it's a decision of the schools as well as certainly the school board to make a decision as far as what they do. But this is what I can tell you, their process, and I can also comment as far as the collaboration with the city. So for example, the school recognized that very thing, that this has been an asset in the community. It's loved, it's been utilized, it adds culture and aesthetic value to our community. What's going to happen with it? And so they brought together basically a focus group, and they said, whoever wants to be on this focus group, we'd like to hear from you. We want you to be on this. And so at the time they advertised it, but I think they had like 40 people on this committee. And they met multiple times, and individuals from the community were on this, let's say, I remember a couple of council people were on there, a couple school board, I believe, but mainly it was community members. And after they had met several times, basically they came to the conclusion, this is what we are giving the charge to the school board, to the schools. We would like, if at all possible, to retain the physical facility as it is, including OJ work. We want that to continue to remain. That would be the best benefit. And not remain as a school. They recognize that it would have to have another use, but could they either sell it to a developer that would develop it, but retain the same, facility? That was the desire. If that was not able to be accomplished, then at least they were hopeful that they would be able to retain the OJ workspace. And so that was what I had. I was not on that focus committee meeting, but that was what was that had been spoken to me, and that has been restated multiple times. I've heard that many times since then, and so that has not changed. That focus has not changed. So the collaboration with the city. For example, we have a department, it's small, it's just 2 people, but an economic development, or actually kind of 1.5 people, an economic development department. And we were, and then plus me, I do a lot of economic development as well. And we meet with area businesses and developers and so forth. And so our economic development director knows developers, and so that would be interested in that type of a building, or potentially that type of a building, and has brought those developers. And it's been multiple. It hasn't been just one. It's been multiple groups that have come over to CIS to tour it along with the school district, so that they could see the potential, so that when it is available and when there's an opportunity, they can make a decision. Hey, could I do something with this? Because you could envision, perhaps, maybe there could be, individuals that they can, change that into housing. That could be maybe retail stores in the bottom. There could be lots of uses. But bottom line is that you have to have a developer that has the funding available to be able to have the vision to be able to do that. And then I also know that the schools hired a kind of a consultant to help them walk through this process to be able to match a developer with them. with the schools. The schools don't do this. This isn't a common thing for them to do. This is kind of outside, and so that I thought it was a great idea for them to get a consultant to help them navigate these waters. So I haven't heard anything as far as anything definitive, but I do know that that was what their grand hope is.
Thanks for taking my call. I'm curious about these 25-mile-an-hour posted signs on the residential streets. Does anybody obey those anymore? And are they enforced? Because my question is, you mentioned the street repairs, and I live on Wolf, close to Waverly. Seems to be a lot of cut-through traffic through there. People fly down through there. There are children, there's old people like myself that might be crossing. It's scary.
Yeah.
These people, and I don't see I don't see the presence of anybody enforcing.
Okay.
Can you help me there?
I can help you a little bit, because there's that 24,000 plus people that live here in Wadsworth, and they don't say, okay, Mayor. But what I can tell you is that there is active enforcement, but obviously you have so many officers, and they're spread throughout the community, and so you'll have one or two that are in the north end, one in the southern part, one's in the main area. They're not going to be on every street at any given time, and so that's our issue, is because who really can enforce? It's the police. But what I can tell you is that when we have become made aware that there is a particular problem or a let's say perennial problem in a particular area, they often will call City Hall and they'll say, Mayor, and then I'll have them talk to our safety director. They say, safety director, we got a problem on Great Oaks Trail. People are going way too fast. And what they'll do is they do various initiatives to be able to try to combat that. So one thing, what they'll do is they'll get several neighbors that are on that street, and you'll see occasionally those signs that say, go slow, go this, go. And obviously that's kind of a visual. That's one quick thing that can be done. Does it make much of an effort, or does it change anybody's habits? Maybe, hopefully, probably not, but it's an effort. That's one step that we can do. I will also say that when we are made aware that, we'll often put up those signs that actually show the speed that you're going. It doesn't ticket them, but basically it shows what their speed is. And then we have data. We're able to see how fast that they're truly going. Because sometimes people say, oh my gosh, you're going so fast on this street. And then we have the data, and then basically it's not fast except for this one kid that comes home from school during, So we have data to be able to tell us when is the time that's not, they're going too fast. And really, is it an issue, or is it more of a perception? And then lastly, what we'll do is, based on that data, then our officers will go out, and they will, be there at different. Sometimes they'll maybe ask somebody like you, and they'll say, "Hey, can we park in your driveway?" And we can kind of watch during these times. And so that's the process. And so I would recommend for any of you that if you have a problem and you have concern about your street, to call our safety director and say, this is what's going on, and can you do something about that? Now, I would say, don't all of you call today, because they target, and obviously we only have so many of those signs and so many ability for us to be able to target, but they'll put you on a list, like, they know that, okay, next month we're going over to Wolf, then month after that we're going to go over to Chestnut. They have a schedule, but it gets on their radar screen, and they'll be able to work with you.
Thank you.
You bet. There's some.
Am I up? Yes. All right. I'd like to say you're very well versed in most of your.
Oh, there you are.
And I have basically three things. First one is, when are you going to move the city limit sign out to where the city limits are on 261?
Which direction? Coming
East.
On the east?
Yes.
Okay. And are you talking about our big signs?
Pardon?
Are you talking about our brand new big sign?
Yeah, there's your big sign.
Well, we don't have one on 261. We have. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, you got one on 261.
But not the new.
City limits.
Yeah, but not the big new one.
Okay.
Okay.
And the second one is there any plans on doing some, getting together and doing some of the striping on the roads because it's getting worn out. When winter gets here, it's going to be real tough to keep having accidents.
Mm-hmm.
And the third thing, do you have any plans for the eastern part?
Eastern?
Eastern, yeah, east of town.
East of town.
Yeah.
And any plans going on for the eastern part of the town?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let me see if I can remember those. So the city limit sign, the problem on 261 is you're in the city limits and then there's township. And then there's city limits and there's township. And that's different on the other side. We're in the city limits here and then over this township, and then city limits. So it's kind of a moving target, and so that's kind of our issue. The other issue is, and I will tell you that in some of the other sign placements that we have, is we have utility underneath, and we have to find that magical spot where there's no utilities or we can work around the utilities, and then we're able to see the sign. I will tell you, it's like, I'm sure you've seen some of the nice big new signs that we have. The one on the north end, it's bugging the heck out of me. I'm like, you can't see it. But we're having trouble as far as finding the right space to do it, that you have a good visual, but also that we're close enough to the city limits, and that that it's where there's utilities are not there. So anyways, it's kind of like a balancing act. So that's kind of what happens with that. But particularly in 261, that's the issue, is there's township, city, and kind of crazy there. Eastern part of town, our city limits are basically kind of where that speedway area is. Is that where you're talking? Going east of that?
The city limits were on that Medina Line Road.
Yes. And so we're kind of getting pretty close to, where our city limits are there. And there's occasionally we will get inquiry from somebody that has interest in annexing into the city. But as I said, we're getting, at least in that neck of the woods, pretty close to where the county line is. But maybe a little bit south of that, there could potentially be, as I said, we'll get an inquiry from somebody that wants to annex into the city. And by and large, most of the time when individuals are interested in annexing into the city, they're looking to be able to receive our city services. But that's a benefit to us as well, because we are able to benefit from income tax as well. But what was that third one? I'm trying to remember.
Repainting of the lines.
Oh, repainting the lights, yes. Answer for that is yes. So normally once a year, we will have a contract out where they will go out and they will spray the lines in various areas, and that's going to be occurring this next month because, it becomes a safety issue. If you don't have the lines, you don't know quite where to negotiate, particularly in certain intersections. Very good.
About OJ work.
Mm-hmm.
And once the building's vacated, I know there's seen some kind of pretty constructive efforts or creative efforts up in Cleveland. They had Old West Tech there. I used to live up in Cleveland. And they turned those into loft apartments. And now I don't know the mechanics. If there's, for instance, I know there's probably central heat in OJ Works. I don't know about central air. Mm-hmm. And that, of course, involves duct work and everything. And since we have OJ Work theater, you could also make that available for something, say, like summer stock theater or something like that, along with using it for the schools and that, and maybe even create some of these older theaters that used to have one picture in them, like when I grew up, Medina Theater, you just saw one picture, you didn't have a cineplex. But they've gone to a venue where they'll have these oldie movies, and they'll have, for instance, they'll make a restaurant in there, like a sort of a bistro, and so you go in there and you might watch, I don't know, North by Northwest, and you'll have something where you can get some drinks and something to eat, and you're sort of comfortably seated, and you can see this old movie.
Yeah.
I've seen it. I know they did that I used to live in Dallas too. They did that in Dallas. They took an old theater and made pretty good success of it. I know there's a lot of us that are pretty old, and we like some of these old pictures with Jimmy Stewart in there and John Wayne and all that. And that might be something to think about. You don't have to do it. You can set it up for that. I don't know the cost of that, but it might be something we could consider.
Yeah. Well, I think like that focus group had some interest in that type of thing, of being able to retain OJ work, because really there's not that many performing arts center that it's as large as OJ work in our small suburban, areas. Obviously, there's some in the larger areas, but so it's a gem. But as you said, you talked about the finances, and so it's a feasibility. And so really what it takes is a developer that has a vision that thinks that, hey, listen, I can provide this type of venue, these types of options to be able to make this a viable enterprise, going forward. So, yep. But at the end of the day, it would be, as I said, the school board decision as far as who to sell this to, or who to, to be able to work with, to be able to provide that opportunity. Oh, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm new in the area. We just moved here from south of Boston about 36 years ago. We love it here. My concern. Put the mic to your mouth. Oh, okay. My concern is, how's the police department getting? Is it going to get more? Because our population seems to be picking up. We have new housing. We're going to have lots more kids. And I just want to know that, do you have any plans to have more police available?
You bet.
For protection?
You bet. And I know that, did Chief Chapin, did he come recently?
So he's coming Wednesday morning. We're having coffee with the cop.
Okay.
So 2 more days, everybody's invited to coffee with the cop at 11
Perfect.
o'clock.
So he'll be able to even clarify more, but I will tell you just a general. And that is I feel like we are in a ever-present hiring for police. And the reason being is that we have amazing police, and Chief Chapin's going to tell you about it. I mean, we absolutely have an amazing police force. We're very grateful for them and for their talents. And to be able to get that, they are highly trained, and we're pretty picky. And they go through a very extensive process to be hired. And so, so my point is that we'll have a retirement. So we just had a retirement. And we're like, oh no, we just got up to speed, and then all of a sudden we get a retirement. We're like, oh great. So then and sometimes we know about that retirement coming up, and sometimes we don't. And so bottom line is, even if we know that it's forthcoming, it takes a long time for us to go through this process, because we go through the hiring process, but then it's an extensive background. And then if they happen to have their certification, it's a quicker process, and we can get them up and going. But often we, send them to school to be able to get trained, and that's a several month process. And so it takes us a while to get them up to speed. So that's why I said I feel like we're in a continual. I feel like 25 years ago there was they were going through a period of time like we are today. That right now we have a lot of newer, because we've had several retirements over the last 3 years, and so we're getting close to those being done with the retirements. So I'm hoping to catch up. But bottom line is we are staffed, but we could use a couple more, and we're working on that. But I'm going to actually be swearing in another officer coming up the next week or two. Next week, I think it is. Yep. Yeah, and I will say that, it was always 29 was our officer strength, was our full strength. And over the last several years, we're now we can have up to 32, I believe. And so we're at 30, and it will be 31 on Monday, I think. Ask Chief Chapin. But bottom line is we can still accommodate a couple. It's just, I will tell you the other thing. There's been a change, because when I first started, when they would advertise for a opening for being a police officer, we would have over 200 applicants. Nowadays, that doesn't happen. I mean, we've had, I'm going to say probably the average is around 20 or 30. We're like excited, but we've had in the teens before. And so you don't have as many that are either entering that vocation, And it's hard to be a policeman. I mean, you think about what's been going on over the last many years, and it's hard to be a policeman. I am so grateful to them because they truly provide a great service to our community. And sometimes, you know, even in the best of circumstances, in a wonderful community like Wadsworth, you'd be amazed at, you know, some of the things that they have to tackle. And so, and there's not as many people willing to do that. We're grateful to, honestly, we are better staffed and we're in better shape than most communities. Yes.
I really enjoyed just how pretty this city is and the different things, and the way people take care of their properties and make all the streets look really nice and everything. But something that bugs me is when I go to the different shopping areas and they're just trashed. There's just junk all over the place that people throw out in their car windows. And actually living on Main Street, my friend here and I are always picking things up as we go up and down the street. But is there anything that the city can do to put a little pressure on these businesses like Stratford Crossings out there, or, you know, even up in the Great Oaks area, to send somebody out and pick up all this stuff? You know, bags hanging in the trees and
yeah.
that kind of thing.
So let's chat offline at another time, because I'd be interested in particular areas, and that we may be able to do like at least like a call. Hey, we've received a complaint. There's a concern, an issue, because obviously we want to make sure that our community doesn't have litter and that sort of thing. I will tell you, there's a gentleman, and you probably have seen him in the North End. His name is Tom. And one day he was in the area that I was able to park and be able to get out of my car and talk with him. I just had a lovely conversation. This is a gentleman that's retired, and he was kind of thinking, wow, there's a lot of trash that comes. And so he took it upon himself, and he just picks up trash. And one of the things is you think of, oh my gosh, people are just dropping stuff. And I think some people maybe do. But other things is so for example, I don't know if you're ever like between Walmart and Home Depot and that one area there is a wind tunnel because basically the way the wind goes, it all goes back to like Sally's shop, I think is right there. And you'll see the wind going like this. And so he spends some time there. But so I'll say it's not all of Sally's shop, you know, people. Basically, it's the way the wind happens to, you know, gather other things. And you know, you come out of your car and all of a sudden you have a piece of paper that flies out and you don't even know it. Trash happens when you have people that are out and about. And I think one thing is having the businesses as accountable as possible, you know, for areas of their own area. But I think another responsibility is on our own shoulders, and you know, people like Tom, that is great. There's a woman that actually used to live in, she used to work in Wadsworth, and she now works in Akron. But she's been communicating with me, and she's been kind of ringleading this Beautify Akron kind of initiative. And that's what she does, just like Tom. She has a bucket and she picks up her trash when she goes out and walks. And her goal is to get 1 million pieces of trash. And she's like, I think about halfway there. I mean, she actually is really making an effort about this. And she'll show before and after pictures. She'll send them to me, and it really is remarkable. But what it takes is people, you know, having ownership instead of walking past, you know, a piece of trash, you know. And it's easy to do because it's dirty or it's not my property or whatever. But you know, sadly, trash happens. Now, the things that really bug the heck out of me is in a parking lot, and all of a sudden you'll see a McDonald's bag with stuff laying around there. That's horrible because somebody physically did that. But you know, a little piece of paper here or there, sometimes that innocently comes out of somebody's, you know, handbag when they pull something out. But at the end of the day, I think all of us working together, that helps a lot. And then, as you said, holding businesses accountable. So if you have any specific spots, just let me know.
We want to be cognizant of your time.
Oh, gosh.
Do you want to take more questions, or should we kind of end it right here?
Well, I will talk as long as you want, but I want to be cognizant of the probably 2/3 that are like, well, this lady shut up. The other third that's like, hey, I got another question. So maybe we'll take a couple more, and then I'll just say, I will stand up here, and if you have additional questions that have not been asked that you want, just come on up here. But I also recognize that some people are like, it's been an hour. She's been talking too long. So maybe a couple more questions.
That's the idea. Okay, question back here.
Mayor, thanks for stopping out and talking with us today. So I have a couple different questions. One is, I know that Holmesburg Park is not really part of the city anymore, but there's been very limited work done on that through the city, the county of Medina. Tell me what the next phase is going to be for Holmesburg Park.
Sure. So actually, so the city still owns Holmesburg Park, but similar to what has been done in Medina and Brunswick is Medina County Park District is basically leasing Holmesburg Park. And it worked out well for the city, because what that means is that they use their county park district employees to maintain, but also they have better expertise, I will say, in passive park maintenance than, say, we do. We're really good at, ball fields and lining the ball fields, picking up trash, mowing, and that sort of thing. But when it comes to nature and birds and planting this thing so it attracts this, and maintaining a pond, and they have particular expertise, and so that is why that arrangement works out so well. So I will tell you that it has been a benefit to the city, because we were able to put our efforts to other parks. Because, for example, all of a sudden now we have that 2-mile trail that somebody else was saying about gets plowed really well and maintained. Somebody does that. Well, it's our park department. And so that, as well as the demands of some of the other parks, but also we know what's coming. We know that the Brickyard will be coming. And so we're trying to do the balancing act as far as doing the park. So manpower works out well. As far as what is happening, and I will tell you that Medina County Park District has been, Nate Epic is their director, and he does a really great job with communicating with us as far as what they're doing, or hey, heads up. So for example, they have a plan, a master plan as far as things that are going to be doing. And one of the things that they had on their docket this year was basically redoing the lake there. We were doing the best that we could, but they have taken it like 10 times more, and they basically dredged it, cleaned it out, restocked it. They took their fish, kept them, and restocked it. I mean, they did a really wonderful job of improving that. And I know that they put like a little fishing area as well. So they made it a much more usable area. And so that was one of their initiatives. A couple of their initiatives are also, they're always concerned, and we had some areas of some erosion, and so that they have been fixing that as well. One of the areas that I know that they are working on is, we had a whole area which, if you used to go there, it was like just mowed. We had just mowed it. That's all we did. Well, they said, gosh, there's this beautiful area. Let's make this an area that attracts butterflies and other birds and different things. And so, as I said, they know how to do that, we don't, and so they're working on that process. Another thing that I know that they are working on is, and I don't know quite the timing, if I would look at my emails real quick, I could tell you, but they are going to be putting in a pavilion in the front area of the, like where the parking lot area is, so that's forthcoming. And so I would actually say that they are doing some improvements, and they plan on continuing to do improvements. The other thing is they're going to be working on some of the trails. We did some trail work, but as I said, they do a better job as far as putting actually in trails and maintaining those. So I think it'll be much more walkable in the future. And for those that enjoy the outdoors and walking outdoors on trails, that will be good. So there is some things happening, but it takes some time. And what was the other?
I just wanted to say, what a great event. I mean, for all the people that showed up here today, have the mayor come up and take the time to do this with us. It's just great to see how many people care in this community and show up for an event like this. A couple things I wanted to mention was, when we do have events and we have not enough parking to go to places, we have parking spread out all over this town. Parking lots up here at the schools aren't utilized. The parking lots up here at the schools aren't utilized. We could have a shuttle service maybe if we had a big event that where we needed, additional parking. Wright Stadium, we have parking there that's available. Could get creative that way. The OJ Wood Auditorium downtown where we hold a lot of those events, isn't there new plans with the new part of the school being built that's going to take place of that? So maybe you could elaborate.
So, yeah, good couple things. One about the parking, that was interesting. In fact, we almost used the shuttle service. We had that one time. I remember with the bicentennial, we were worried about attendance. There were too many people downtown, and we thought, how do we get people back? We ended up not going through with that, but that has been kind of floated around, so that's an interesting concept. One of the things that I thought was very interesting when going back to that downtown revitalization plan, the gentleman that was one of our consultants, interestingly, he says, you guys are, wow, you are so fortunate. You have so much parking downtown. And the way that things are configured, you have, the buildings, and then you have all this parking that's behind. And if you take a picture of, like a drone, and then you show, we have empty parking lots in certain, so you do have to maybe walk maybe 2 blocks. Let's say there's an event going on behind, like King Street Cafe. There's plenty of parking in that southern parking lot, and I call it the southwest parking lot, but you'd have to walk 2 blocks. And so I think it's, once again, it's maybe an education for us to be able to educate people, hey, listen, if you want to park, a lot of people park on side streets, but we do have parking, but that is certainly a consideration because, especially if you have mobility issues, we want to make sure that we have access to that. What was the other thing that you had mentioned? Yes. Oh, yes. So in the school plans, I'm aware in CIS is that they will also have a performing arts center. I believe that it will open a little bit later than the school opening in August of next year. They were going to be able to get the school portion done, but the performing arts portion was going to take a little bit longer. And so, but bottom line is that they will also have a performing arts center in there. So there will be, opportunity. Obviously, they have the high school, and then they'll have they'll have CIS to be able to have programming for the schools. And obviously, the schools have a lot of need for that and a lot of programming. But they've been very generous, just like they have in OJ. That and obviously, we've utilized the high school one for other things. So I guess what you're maybe saying is if there is no OJ, would we be accommodated? And I think the answer is probably yes, as far as it basically would replace that. But at the same time, obviously, it doesn't take away the cultural or the feelings that people have about that facility. So we'll see what happens. Alrighty. We will conclude there. As I said, I will just stay right up here and gab away. If anybody has questions, you can certainly come up to talk with me. I am just so grateful for this opportunity. Thank you for inviting me, because as I said, I just love having the opportunity to be able to chat and to be able to answer questions that you have, because as I said, we have a lot of great things going on in the city, and sometimes we just can't get that message out to communicate to everybody, and it's just nice to have that opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.